Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Tina Cosentino, and I am with CCOF. I will be your moderator for today's session. Thank you so much for joining us for our Organic Marketing 101 webinar. We're very pleased to have 25 of you join us today. I see 17 people in so far, so a few more may just be getting started. We do have some technical support if anyone's having any challenges. Stefan is there and available to you. If you have any questions, please connect with him during the session. But we're going to do our best to have everyone have a successful experience with the webinar today. So again, I want to welcome everyone to Organic Marketing 101. Today we have two excellent presenters who bring years of experience working in the organic marketplace to you to share with you and to help you assess your marketing plan for your operation. I want to introduce to you Jeff Bordes, who's the Director of Sales and Marketing at Marin Sun Farms. He's going to help show us how to build a presence online and sell in the e-commerce marketplace. Prior to joining Marin Sun Farms, Jeff spent 4 years at Frog Hollow Farm as the Director of Sales and Marketing. Jeff designed and implemented their e-commerce and online marketing strategy, seeing significant growth in national sales and attracting national press. Jeff has also served as co-founder and chief consultant for Solutions on Demand, a customer care marketing and management consulting firm in the San Francisco Bay Area. His background includes working with large and mid-sized companies in the areas of customer care, customer retention, global team management, and social media and new marketing. Dina Izzo is the founder of Blue Dog Organic Produce Services, an education and strategic market support company that helps small-scale and beginning organic farmers get their products from farm to market, transforming crop plans to cash while supporting forward stewardship of the environment through sustainable agricultural methodologies. Dina has over 30 years of experience in the organic produce industry, working as a purchaser and salesperson in wholesale distribution, retail produce department management, and nonprofit education. So please join me in welcoming both Jeff and Dina to share with us today. In order to get started, I want to give a quick little housekeeping orientation. If this is your first time to working with a webinar through WebEx, I want to orientate you to the panel that's on the right-hand side of your screen. It should look something like this. That says Participants, Chat, and Q&A. This is basically everyone is joined muted automatically to the session today. This panel will kind of help guide you for how you can be involved. You can open and close these panels by simply clicking on those boxes at the top ribbon that you see there if you want to kind of minimize it and get it out of your way while we go through the PowerPoint presentation today. You can use the chat box to submit text questions and receive answers. We will be pausing throughout the session today to take questions. It will not say Q&A, so please ignore that. You will just see the chat feature on your button, so please use the chat feature there. And we will queue those up and take questions throughout the session. You can also raise your hand by clicking on this small hand button. That will indicate that you would like to be unmuted, and you can ask your question. If you have a microphone and speakers with your computer or a USB headset, you can ask your question verbally. Again, there will be Q&A at the end of today's session, and throughout we'll be pausing, and everyone will receive an email with a link to a video of the recorded version of today's session. So no need to frantically take notes. You will receive a copy of the materials we'll be presenting today. So to begin, I would like to start with just a very brief introduction to the U.S. organic food market. Today's session is focused on sale of your organic products, and so we want to talk a little bit about what the market looks like and how it's been changing over the last 10 years. The organic market has enjoyed double-digit growth in the last 10 years, which is quite remarkable. You'll see from this slide here that the fruit and vegetable category represents 39.7% of the total organic food value and nearly 12% of all U.S. fruit and vegetable sales. So it's definitely the largest portion, but this is a nice graph to also show you dairy, beverage, packaged and prepared foods, breads and grains, snack foods, meat, fish, poultry, and condiments. So there's quite nothing that's in the market today that hasn't been touched by organic. This next slide is got a lot of information on it and some really fun facts. The organic sector is really a bright spot in our agricultural economy. Even in a time of recession, it is growing, and last year the organic sector grew by 9%. Organic is now a $31 billion a year sector. Organic fruit and vegetables, as I mentioned before, have a significant amount of that growth. And a new report from the Organic Trade Association finds that the organic food industry generated more than 500,000 jobs in the United States in 2010. California represents 19% of all the U.S. organic farms and 6% of organic sales. So that's just to give you a little bit of a backdrop on the industry that we're talking about. So to begin, we'd like to start with an overview of what we will do in today's session. We will start with the self-assessment. So if you have that handout handy, that is the one that was sent to you, the activity sheet that was sent to you as homework for you to complete for yourself prior to today's session. So you may want to pull that out as we're discussing that first section. Then we're going to start with an overview of direct marketing strategies, including farmers markets, farm stand, CSAs, online sales, and social media. And then we'll move into indirect marketing strategies with retail stores, brokers, and wholesale. The focus of today's workshop is really to give you an overview of each of these and really help you decide which of these market channels may be right for you and for your operation. So to begin, I'd like to ask for folks to pull out the self-assessment sheet. Again, this is really a tool for you to use to help you assess what is right for you and help you make your marketing plan and your marketing strategy for your operation. So some of the core questions you'll want to ask yourself before you get started, and you'll want to keep in mind as you're listening to today's training, is what are your strengths and what are your resources? On the sheet, the first question there is what are the strengths and resources and what are your core competencies? So really thinking about what you do well and what the unique value is of your operation. Who is in your company and what are their strengths? So looking at your labor, looking at the people that you're working with and what they really bring. How many markets do you currently serve, and do you have the capacity to expand to other markets? Also a very critical question. Before you jump in and rapidly make promises to a potential buyer, you want to make sure you're going to be able to successfully and consistently fill that request and provide the product in a consistent manner. What are the transportation routes? You'll want to look at where you're located, what the ease of access is to these different markets, and we'll talk a little bit about the differences between the transportation requirements for each of the markets. What distribution systems exist in your region? What types of crops or labor exist in your area, and what are your post-harvest resources? Again, these are all really good questions to ask before you decide which of these market channels are good for you to get started with. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Dina, and Dina's going to start with a background and an overview of some of the main channels for direct marketing. So here we go.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Direct marketing includes market channels where you yourself actually speak directly with your customers, and they include farmers markets, on-farm activities such as farm stands, U-Picks, agro-tourism, which can mean anything from folks coming to your farm for a picnic to people spending the night at your place. There's community-supported agriculture, which we will from this point on call CSA, and online sales and social media, which Jeff Bordes will be speaking to in just a few moments. We'd actually like to start out our discussion on direct marketing with a short demonstration video. The guest, our star is Jeff Larkey of Route 1 Farm here in Santa Cruz County. And so without much further ado, here is our video on how to attend farmers markets.
Hold on just 1 second. There will be a video that will appear shortly.
Okay, well, I hope that you enjoyed that. Okay, well, I hope that you enjoyed the video and learned some things. And we're just going to go over a few more essential ways to go about serving a farmer's market. And one of the first things to do is scouting. There's a farmer's market that you would like to attend, go to it. Go and see what is being sold in that market and at what prices. And probably one of the best tips I can give you is when you go and see what's at those farmers market and see what other farmers have, bring something different, if at all possible. You need to get your certified producer's certificate, which is just something that you can get from your local Department of Ag. They'll come out to your farm, they'll do an inspection to make sure, and then what you want to grow, they'll put those items on the cert. You need to display that cert at all times so that your customers know that you actually did grow everything that was on your table. Farmers market management and rules. Each farmers market will give you a booklet that will explain all their rules and regulations. There's product handling. You want to make sure that if you're a lettuce grower, for example, or a leafy greens grower, that you bring some water to keep your product happy and healthy and looking appealing and appetizing. You want to think about your one-time expenditures. These expenditures include your equipment, your table, for example, your scale, tablecloths, any kind of infrastructure that you want to buy and have so that you can make a beautiful display, baskets, for example. So these are one-time expenditures. There's your ongoing expenditures, and those things include your labor, your fuel to get to and from market. You want to always keep in mind truck maintenance. You get a flat tire on your way to or from market. That's kind of a tough one, but that comes under the line of making sure your vehicle is in good shape. Your stall fee is an ongoing expenditure. Every week you'll go and you will pay a stall fee. And then, again, your labor. So these are things that if you're going to attend farmers market that you know you're going to need to pay week in and week out. So some of the best parts of farmers markets, the best part in my mind is the cash flow. Your interaction with your customer is money in your hand. As Jeff mentioned in the video, direct contact with your customer. Access to chefs and retails. Many chefs go to farmers markets to scout and see what is fresh and what is great that they can put on their menu. So you have the opportunity to possibly meet with that chef, talk with them, perhaps have an order ready for them so that they can come and pick up product from you. And then also retail stores. In your scouting, you want to see your route, see if there's a possibility of a retail store that's in and around the vicinity that you can deliver to either at the beginning of market or at the end so that you make your route to farmers market as profitable as possible. You get an opportunity to create beautiful displays, work your colors, work your textures. Very similarly, as you saw in the video, the idea of contrasting colors and textures really do make an appealing display. And then offering true food to people who really appreciate it. There is nothing greater than to be talking with someone about your product, sell it to them, and have them really, really appreciate what you're doing. Conversely, there's the worst parts of farmers markets, and that includes loading the truck. Very tedious job, could happen at 2 o'clock in the morning, could happen the night before, however you do it, but it's very, very important that when you load your truck, you do so very mindfully, understanding where you're putting your product, where you're putting your equipment, so that when you get to market, everything is intact. You don't have crushed or unsaleable product, which is a loss right off the top, that you haven't done something like, oh, I don't know, break your scale, which has happened. Earlier in the webinar, we talked about your knowing your transportation route. So if you've got a bumpy road or a windy road or a hilly road, you want to make sure that you load your truck accordingly. So when you make those turns that go up and down, your product in your truck stays happy. Paperwork and accounting everyone's least favorite thing, however, is one of the most important things you can do, is make sure that you leave the farm knowing what's on your truck, with a sense of what your prices are going to be, and so that at the end of market you can do proper accounting, know what kind of money you made. Your travel time, sometimes the market is 2, 3, 4 hours away. You double that. That's 8 hours of travel time. Not that much fun. Keep your truck loaded with good music, things you like to listen to, or an audio book helps pass that time. Difficult customers and market politics. On the other side of somebody really loving your food will be somebody that says, oh, but Joe Blow down the street has it for this price, or this doesn't really look good, can you give me a break? That's hard to take sometimes. Market politics. You have beautiful strawberries, but so does several other vendors at that market, so you may not be able to bring that. Market politics also include how you have to load or offload your truck, if you're going to have to park it somewhere. So these things can be difficult. And then at the end of the day, there's offloading your truck. You're tired. You don't really want to offload your truck, and maybe you do it and it's perhaps haphazardly. Your best option is to put everything away where you found it, so the next time you go to market, everything is where it needs to be. Take good care of whatever food you didn't sell, whether you can resell it or give it to your food bank or put it on your table at your home. You want to take good care of your food, and make sure you do your paperwork. At the end of the day, you're tired, but do it anyway. It's very important. So another venue for direct marketing are farm stands. We're looking at Alan and Judy Hasty of Yellow Wall Farm. That is, in fact, a pickup truck that you're seeing. They load up their pickup truck with product. They take it to the end of their road because their desire was to feed their neighborhood. So they just had a pop-up tent. They make a very beautiful display. As you can see, the signage is in the back. They chose to put signage in the back so as not to distract from their beautiful display. So you see all those beautiful colors and all those beautiful textures. So you can do this on your farm, which brings people to your farm, which is always a good way to get people enamored with your food. Another direct marketing strategy are CSAs, Community Supported Agriculture. Now this strategy takes a lot of thought, and the first thought is your crop plan. Remembering that if you're going to feed people for 6 months of the year, you want to have a wide variety of product for them so that they don't get bored with the crops that you're feeding them. You need to look at your pricing. Ways to do that certainly is to see what other CSAs are offering, but as far as price is concerned and for how much quantity, etc. But really, it's you knowing what your cost of production is and what you're going to need to charge in order to make your CSA profitable. Customer outreach: where are you going to go to reach out to folks? Some good tips are your schools. Health clinics, for example, are a great place to reach out to people about healthy food. Churches often are a good place to reach out. You can do flyers, you can put ads in your paper, you can put things on your Facebook page, you can tweet that you're going to do your CSA. So there's lots of ways to do customer outreach. Your host location: a host is in fact the location where you bring your boxes. And so that person, that family, or that organization, whichever the case may be, you're asking them to be responsible for your food. So you want to take good care of your host in whatever way you do, whether that's they get a free box or they get a discount on their box. You want to take good care of your host because you're asking them to look after your food. If somebody doesn't pick up their box, your host is responsible for that. If there's a mishap somehow, somebody picked up the wrong box, you're looking at your host to take care of that. Managing your subscriptions: there are several different ways to go about that. Jeff will speak to at least one of those. There's a software called Farmingo that helps. You can also set yourself up with an Excel spreadsheet. That's helpful. And then partnering with other farms. This is particularly helpful insofar as offering a wide swath and a nice variety for your customers. If you're a veg farmer, partnering with a fruit farmer is a really good strategy, and vice versa. And then the other important aspect of a successful CSA is packaging, how you pack your box to make sure heavy things are on the bottom, light things are on the top. If you're offering strawberries or cherry tomatoes or things that are kind of small, you want to think about putting them in a bag so that your customer gets their box and opens it up and it looks as beautiful as it did when you took it from your farm and brought it to that host location. Okay, so we're going to pause now for some questions before we go on. Are there any questions about farmers markets or farm stands or community supported agriculture strategies? Okay.
Again, we'll be taking questions throughout the training today, so if you do have any, please just type them into the chat field or go ahead and raise your hand, and that will let us know you'd like to be unmuted to ask a question. So if there are no questions at this time, we can go ahead and move on to Jeff's presentation. But feel free to type in the questions as you're thinking of them so you don't forget them. Thank you. So Jeff, I'm going to pass this over to you. Can you click to the next slide? There we go. So now we're going to go into online sales and social media with Jeff Bordes. And Jeff, I'm passing the privileges over to you so we can see your screen and your presentation.
Great. Good morning. Dina, where do I share my screen at?
Did you just see the option? It should be coming to you.
No, it's not.
Let me try it one more time. Passing the ball. There we go.
Okay.
We are entering Jeff's computer. There we go.
Thank you. I'm going to give a quick intro to growing your online presence. Everyone is online now, including your customers. And if you don't have an online presence, you really need one. Your website is your virtual business cards. So we're going to first talk about how to get online. Building your own website and online presence does not have to be difficult, but you must be prepared. If you're willing to make the time and small investment, you can easily add another level to your marketing. The first step is really to decide what your online purpose is or your mission. Are you building an online presence just to connect with your customers? Or are you building an online presence to communicate with your customers? Or are you actually wanting to sell your products online? And you can do all three. So the first step is to get a website. If you don't have a website, you need one. This is your virtual business card. So to build your website, it is easy, it's inexpensive, anyone can really do it. You're going to want to register your domain, which is your web address, www.yourfarm.com, for example. You're going to want to register and secure your web hosting, and this is actually what hosts your website and hosts the information so others can see it. It is easy to build your website. You don't need to spend a lot of money on it. There's a lot of easy website builders out there, softwares out there that makes it just really point and click and easy to roll a website out. There's new online software coming out, like Wix is one, W-I-X. You can Google it. Again, they make it easy for anyone to build a website pretty quickly. And even if you just want to get one page up, again, this is your virtual business card. So just a one-page website with a quick bio about you, where people can find you, what you're growing, what you're selling, and most importantly, contact information. How do people get a hold of you? That is an easy step that you can do within a couple hours and is very important. Next piece is you want to make it easy for your customers to find you online. So once you have your website, you're going to let everyone know about the web address. How do they find your website? And you can do this in many different ways. Just all of your marketing that you roll out, promoting your farmers markets and your CSA, should all have your website address and your email address. Should have your business card should now have your website address, and if you have social media channels, you should have promote how people can find you on Facebook and Twitter. And then also you should start building an email list. Start acquiring your customers' email addresses. Get their permission so you can develop a list and actually email them on a regular basis, letting them know specials, letting them know again where they can find you, asking them to help promote you and your business. So the next part is growing your community online. I just mentioned social media. If you don't have a social media presence, get one today. I'm sure most of you are up on Facebook. Even my grandmother is up on Facebook. So Facebook, you probably have a user login. Facebook also has what they call business pages. So go ahead and create a business page on Facebook again, get the word out on where people can find you on Facebook. Your customers are already talking about you. They're talking about you behind your back. They're talking about you online. They're talking about you on Facebook. They're posting photos of what you're growing. They're posting photos of you at the farmer's market. So the idea behind social media is to be in tune to that and to be able to communicate to your customers while they talk about you. So Facebook is something that you can get going on today. Twitter is the next piece of it. It's not an important piece of it, but it is one that's actively being used. So go ahead and get yourself and your farm set up with a Twitter account. Instagram is a social media tool that I use all the time. It's actually a photo tool. It allows me to take pictures of things happening around the farm. And the cool thing about Instagram is you can sync your business Facebook page and your Twitter account to Instagram. So whenever you post a photo, it goes to all accounts. It makes it really easy to communicate on all channels and manage all channels at the same time. Blog is a piece that should be up on your website. You should. I'm guessing most of you have something to say and something to tell your customers. A blog is just a great tool to be able to add content to your website, whether it be about life on the farm or food politics or what you're growing. It should be a part of your online strategy. The key is content is king, consistency is clean. Create content you find interesting, your customers will too. Be consistent, publish across all social media channels on a regular basis. If you start slowing down on your content, then your customers will lose interest. Link your social media channels together. Let's talk about that with Instagram. And publish a blog on your website. Promote it via the social media channels. If your goal is to actually sell online, there's a lot of tools out there that make it easy. Just real quickly, as Dina just mentioned, if you have a CSA, there's two very popular CSA management systems out there. Farmigo is one of them, which Dina just mentioned, and the other is actually hosted by our friends at localharvest.org, and that's CSAware. That's the one I'm most familiar with. I've checked both of them out, and CSAware is just a great tool, not only to make it easy for you to manage your CSA, but also makes it easy for your customers to sign up for your CSA. They can go to your website, see your CSAware platform. They can actually see what you're growing and what you put in the CSA. They can actually pull up a map and punch in their street address, and it will show all the drop sites near them. It's just a great tool for managing the CSA on the back end as well as the front end. Good Eggs is a newer tool out there that I absolutely love. It's guys in San Francisco that sets artisan producers, farmers, bakeries up with a simple one-page storefront. And it's actually focused on drop sites. So it's just like a CSA. You can actually purchase the items online, pay for it online, and then designate where you want to pick it up in the area near where you live. It's just a great tool. Check it out. And then there's two other options for traditional e-commerce drop ship systems, and that's Shopify and BigCommerce. Makes it real easy for a small business to roll out e-commerce and drop ship programs. I'm guessing most of you will not be going that route, but if you do, it's a great option for you to check out. So 3 steps to take today, if you haven't already: sign up for a Facebook business page and a Twitter account. Brand it with your logo and your company information and phone number and how people can get a hold of you. Load your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram apps onto your smartphone. Everybody has a smartphone now. Get it set up so when you're out at a market, you can take a picture of the beautiful produce that you have today, and you can post it on Facebook and Twitter and invite people to come visit you at the market. Register your domain, build a virtual business card. It's a one-page website. It'll take you 60 minutes. And then number 3, determine what online sales strategy you want to have for your business. Again, do you want to bring your CSA online to help, with CSA Ware or Farmigo to manage your CSA? Do you want to actually sell your products online and drop ship? You should determine really where you want to go with your online strategy. That's what I got. I'm going to be posting some of these resources and links on my website, which is jeffbordes.biz. And if you are on Twitter, go ahead and follow me at Jeff Bordes. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff. So we're now going to have some time to talk about questions and take a pause. So if you have any questions, once again, please do type them into the chat field or raise your hand, and that will let us know that you would like to be unmuted. So this is your time to ask any and all questions you may have about direct markets and the information we just covered. So any questions? Here we go. Okay, we have our first question. Hello, A from Chicago Family Farms.
Hi, my question's for Dina, and I was more interested with getting involved with existing CSAs since we don't have that many different products ourselves, so I don't think that I could sustain a CSA on my own, but I'm interested in joining other CSAs. What do you recommend for that?
Well, my first thought would be to, well, first of all, are you a certified organic farm?
We are in our transition period, so we will get our certification in February. So okay. I'm kind of trying to plan ahead.
I see. Well, then the first thing I would say certainly is to locate other certified organic farms in and around your region, and have a conversation with them about your idea. Make a proposal. How would you like to? Either you can do it a couple of ways. They can effectively sell you product, and when you do one of the things that happens with the CSA, certainly one of the most important communication tools to your customer is your CSA newsletter. So in your newsletter, you will want to mention what other farms' products are in your box. You can work collaboratively with that farm so that you perhaps create a different name for the CSA end of your marketing. Maybe it's Citricado and blah 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 CSA, so that people know that they're getting product from both farms, which is is a very lovely way to go about doing this, as opposed to just buying it outright from another farm. When you work collaboratively with another farm, you have a great opportunity to educate folks, to make your box really fun and exciting. And then also, again, it's a very good reflection into the rural and the eater world, how farmers work together for their mutual benefit. So, but really, just finding out what do you grow? Are you a avocado grower, or?
We do avocados, and then we planted a good portion of tango trees. We're getting into citrus as well.
I see. So your best option would be to partner with a veg grower, so that you offer the fruit, they have the vegetable, and then you sit down and have a negotiation with that farm and talk about what that picture is going to look like, because you have the opportunity to create whatever reality you want to, as long as both parties are willing.
Okay, and then my other question, those are our primary crops that, I have a garden growing, and it's really easy to grow anything. I'm in Southern California, so we can grow anything. So as far as joining a farmer's market, if I wanted to try, I don't know, and grow a bunch of jalapenos or something and bring those, do I have to get those on my certificate?
You do.
Okay. So
if you're going to participate, you speak.
Sorry, I was going to say, so every crop that I want to bring to a farmer's market, even if I'm just going to try it once and see how it goes, or if I have a very small supply, it needs to be on that certificate?
Yes, if you want to participate in a certified farmer's market, which I always recommend that farmers go to certified farmers markets, for the reason is that you know that everything that's being sold by other vendors actually come from their farm. They're not purchasing it from a wholesaler, for example, or going and then reselling it like they do at like farm markets or flea markets. And then you will have to get it. You will have to get it on the cert. Now you can have them come back and add it onto your cert, but you do want to have that on your cert.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff, did you want to say something?
Yeah, actually I do. In regards to our last question about finding other CSAs to work with, when I was Director of Sales and Marketing at Frog Hollow Farm, we had other farms approach us all the time because we had a year-round CSA, and obviously with Frog Hollow being stone fruit, our season was a little bit limited. So we actually partnered with other farms. In fact, we had a couple key avocado growers that we would feature during avocado season. A lot of these farms found us by just asking their customers, which CSAs do you subscribe to? And that's actually how they came across Frog Hollow Farm. So I would reach out to your friends and your customers and ask them which CSAs they belong to, and just start reaching out to all types of CSAs because everyone wants to add diversity to their box.
That's more what I was thinking, because I used to get a box from a CSA before we got into farming, and so I know that they source from a variety of farmers so that they would have a good variety. So I guess I was more looking into joining an existing CSA rather than starting my own, just because our season is so limited.
Yeah, I think most farmers are open to that. In fact, there may be some farms, especially if you have a relationship with them, that may actually help you get started with the CSA. So they would start you out by actually just featuring what you grow, and then as you start adding to your products, you can eventually help build your brand and actually spin off of it.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff and Dina. We're going to go to, we have two more questions here. The next one is from Dan York. The question is, what are the packaging and storage limitations of a meat product versus produce? We're an organic meat company. Packaging and storage limitations of meat products versus produce.
It's funny, I recently moved over from produce at Frog Hollow Farm to meat at Marin Sun Farms. So I can offer a little bit to this question. With meat, at Marin Sun Farms, on our retail channels, and that's our CSA or drop-off packaging, everything we do in regards to that is frozen. So our meat is frozen, and it's when we delivered at a drop-off location. It's actually put in a cooler where it remains frozen. So obviously with meat, you have to be very careful with. We are investigating or looking into other options on how we can get fresh meat to customers, retail customers, but it is a delicate, handling. With produce, it was really a Frog Hollow farm, which is known for, really ripe fruits. Again, it was delicate, but as long as we were shipping nationwide, our organic peaches and nectarines, apricots, and we actually had a lot of success with shipping 2-day air, and even in the hot heat of Atlanta, for example, or New York, 2 days was actually the limit. That was as long as it would take, and before the fruit would actually over-ripen. So packaging, we had no. It was just packed with no ice or anything. It was just packed in a normal UPS box with a lot of padding and foam, which kept it the delicate fruit in place, and we had a lot of success.
Jeff, Dan's asking here, was the meat vacuum sealed?
Yes, we do vacuum seal our meat. It's vacuum sealed before it's frozen.
Okay. Thank you, Dan, for your question. Our next question is from Lance Hyde. Do you know of any CSA trade organizations?
I'm not certain what exactly that means, what a CSA trade organization means to you, Dan. Can you explain that?
We'll give Lance a minute here to type back in clarify your question, please. Are there any other questions that we have from any other participants at this time?
Hey, Tina, I saw one about hosting, web hosting. Someone asked what web hosts we recommend. Bluehost is one that I highly recommend. It's one I use a lot. Some of the e-commerce platforms like Shopify and BigCommerce actually have their hosting already built into their product. Other ones include HostGator, and there's just a lot out there. You can go ahead and just Google it and compare pricing and compare subscription and what you get.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Amanda has a question related to the meat question. What are the requirements for bringing eggs to market and CSAs?
Insofar as bringing eggs, some of the requirements really are to make sure that your eggs are sized properly, clean. Bringing clean eggs to market and putting them in your CSAs are really important, particularly now in the wake of food safety issues. And then also your eggs need to have the name of the farm on them, very similar to what your label would look like. You put your label on your eggs so that your eater has traceability, and that's really all there is to it. Just make sure they're clean, packed properly, and have your label on it. Have your label on it. You can use reused cartons, egg cartons, as long as they have your name and contact information. And really, that's all there is to it.
Okay, our next question is from Shannon. What number of CSA shares did you start out with, and how did you know that was a comfortable amount for your farm? I'm not sure who, maybe you're addressing this to Jeff?
Our CSA, actually, at Frog Hollow, our CSA started just at market pickups, farmers market pickups, and just grew from there. And as our customers started subscribing from various regions, that's when we started adding drop sites. And because deliveries can be timely and costly, we actually had a minimum for opening a new CSA site in a certain area or neighborhood, and we had a minimum of 10 or 15 members. So we would work with a dedicated site host to actually promote in that neighborhood. We would also work with schools and community organizations to help grow. So it was a gradual process, and it was all word of mouth and minimal marketing at the farmers market.
And I'd like to add to that question, Shannon. Really, what's comfortable amount for your farm is something that's very individual. Depending on your labor, what your labor resources are, how much product you have to sell, how long you want to make your season, and looking at your crop plan. Those are the things that really do consider what's comfortable. The most important consideration is your labor, and do you have the ability to serve all your customers well. Whether that's 10 or 50 or 500 really depends on your post-harvest capacity and your labor and your delivery capacity. So that really is very individual. So I would just say to use your sense about your farm and what your labor capacity is, and that will tell you the answer.
Thanks, Dina. I'm going to pass these a series of questions coming in from Sherry with regards to eggs. How do you find out about the proper cleaning guidelines for eggs? And I'm going to.
You can go onto the USDA website, and they'll be able. There is a section there about selling eggs. They'll tell you, but I can simply say that for farmers markets and CSAs, the most important thing really is to just make sure that you can wash your eggs effectively in cool water, take off any debris that's on there, wipe them down so that you have a nice, clean, shiny egg, and that really is all there is to that. Insofar as making sure that your eggs pass what the USDA regs are, just go to their website and you'll be able to find that information. The USDA website is a very, very useful resource.
Okay. Sherry, I'm getting an answer from one of our certification specialists about your question on bedding for eggs. So I'll have that answered in a minute. I'm going to move to Betty's question, which is, can you cook food without using a commercial kitchen, like make jam to sell from home? Do you want to answer that one, Dina?
Unfortunately, the answer to that is no. Right now, with food safety regulations being all high alert, it is to get into to sell your product at farmers markets. You do absolutely need to have your product done in a commercial kitchen to make sure that you don't run into any kind of issues with the safety of your food. And then
dehydrating.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The laws around this are changing quickly, so you do have to kind of keep up to speed with it. This is Tina, I'm just adding because I've been sitting on the CDFA Direct Marketing Committee, which is reviewing the results of the cottage food industry bill, which does have some exemptions for small scale, but you have to keep very careful records. There has to be a certain level of sale minimum that you're meeting, or I'm sorry, a maximum. You can't sell over a certain amount of products. If you're wanting to do anything on a larger scale, you absolutely must use a commercial kitchen, and you should look at the cottage food bill to see exactly what those levels would be for jam or for other particular products. And another question from Julie is, what about dehydrating? Do we need a commercial kitchen as well? And I'm going to pass that back to you.
To the best of my knowledge, the answer to that is no. You can also sell sun-dried fruit, which obviously is not in a commercial kitchen. And I've had a great deal of success. I also worked for Frog Hollow Farm. I was their farmer's marketeer for a season and a half. We sold a great deal of just literally sun-dried fruit, which was obviously not done in a commercial kitchen, but we did sell jams and conserves, and those were in fact done in a certified kitchen. But for dehydrating, the answer to that is nay. Oh, there it is. Thank you. So no, you're good there.
Okay, great. We're going to move on and continue with our presentation. And
hold on, sorry about that. Hi everyone, we're going to move on and continue with the presentation. Please keep sending your questions, and we will be pausing again at the end for more questions. So thanks for all the really great questions. I'm going to go ahead and pass this back to Dina, who's going to help us continue with direct sales through retail stores for our next topic. So, changing presenter.
So indirect marketing strategies. Now these strategies include retail stores. Many people think of a retail store as a direct marketing strategy. It is not. And the reason is because the store is the entity that is between you and your eater. So conversely, it is an indirect marketing strategy. Wholesale markets and brokerage. These are the three indirect marketing strategies we'll be talking about today. We'll start off with retail stores. You have some retail stores in mind that you would like to sell to. The first thing you want to do is go and visit that store and take a look at the prices that are on their produce shelf. And you can look at those prices, deduct 35% of that, and that is generally a good baseline that indicates what kind of price you will receive from the store. You want to take a look at what's the clientele of that store, and what are they buying. You also want to make sure that if there is a prepared foods section in the store, whether it's just a sandwich making stall or a full-on deli with hot food, etc., look to that as another customer for you. So you can have you basically have two customers at one drop, and that's a very good way to make sure that your drop is profitable. You want some things to consider are the delivery logistics. What that means is time of the day, where you're going to deliver it, how you're going to deliver it. Do you back up to a dock? Do you and then you bring it and leave it on a dock? Would they like you to put it into their cooler? Do you have to offload on the ground and bring it through the front of the store or the back of the store? Their post-harvest needs, will they require hydro cooling or forced air cooling? Is just cleaning sufficient? How many stems or bulbs per bunch are they looking for? What's the size and shape of the product that they're looking for? And your payment terms. Your terms are specifically the amount of credit that you are able to extend to your customer. Those are your terms. That's 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. So you need to know what your payment terms are going to be. Other considerations are multiple deliveries weekly. Most stores prefer to have a consistent supply of your product on their retail shelf. So you'll need to know if you can deliver to them once, twice, or thrice a week. The quality expectations. Quality meaning, again, size, shape, bunches, flavor. Flavor is in fact a quality expectations many retail stores require. So you want to know what those things are. The availability broadcast, we're going to be talking about that in a moment. Basically, that's a list that you send out to your customer that tells them all the things you have, how much they cost. Your invoicing, we're going to go into some detail. And again, the accounting. If you're going to be offering anyone terms, you're not getting cash in your hand, you absolutely need to know when your money is due you. So keeping up with your accounting is a very important aspect of a profitable relationship with a retail store. Your label and packaging standards for the industry. Most retail stores will require pack standards. And those things on your box, on your label, needs your farm name, your location, the unit amount. The unit amount meaning how much is in the box. Is it 24 bunches, 25 pounds, 10 pounds, etc.? That is a legal requirement. Your country of origin, all of your product must say grown in the USA. And your certifying body for organic, hopefully you're choosing, in the midst of choosing or have chosen a certifying body. We're always hoping that it's CCOF. Regardless of who your certifying body is, that information must be on your box. So here's an example of some labels, and you'll see everything that we just talked about. The farm name, obviously the location, there it is, Freedom, California. The unit amount, 16 ounces, there's that. Country of origin, born in the USA. And then the certifier, which they simply just say certified organic by CCOF. And then with Blue Heron Farm, you can see all this, in fact, the exact same information. And they also, if you look down below, they have their California Organic Registration Number right under their certifying, the name of their certifying body. And that is right there. Okay. So this is an example of an availability list. You will see at the top, we've got Love to Farm. There's the address, phone number, and the email. And here's just a little picture of the barn. That's something that helps distinguish your availability list from everybody else. The very important information is this is the date, March 15th is the date that you sent the information, and the delivery day, right, is going to be for the next day. You want to make sure both of those dates are on your availability list for clarity, so there's no confusion for your customer or for yourself. Then, of course, you have the name of the product. We're selling Rapini. The unit, you can buy 24 count. And then here's your price, right, $16. And it's also really helpful to have some words to describe what your product looks like in lieu of a picture. And then you're also have the capacity to sell a 12 count, and you can sell a 12 count for slightly more money, which is really just a way for your farm to compensate going outside of the standard pack and offering this extra service to your customer. So then you can basically go down this availability list, and you'll see here's a unit of measure that's by the pound. Cheddar cauliflower is by the pound, not by the count. And then down at the very bottom, you can see where it says plums and apricots are budding on the trees. Looks like an abundant crop. This is just a little glimpse for your customer to see what's up and coming, so that you stay in their mind. So this is a basic availability list that, and you can format your list however you want to format it. But the most important thing is that you have the essential key information: your farm, the date, the product, the unit, and the price. Okay, so we have sent off your availability list to your customer, and they're very excited about working with you, and they sent you an order. And so here on your invoice, again, you have your farm name and your address, the date that you sent this product, and your invoice number. Okay, your invoice number is a very important piece of information. It is in fact crucial. Make sure that you keep an invoice, that you have an invoice number on your invoices, whether you generate them in your computer or you use an invoice book. The invoice number is important. And then here you have the name of your customer. We've got Buys a Lot Market, their address, and their phone number. This information is important, particularly if you're handing your invoice over to another person to do the pay, so that if you're We'll call that your accounts receivable person. Needs to know, the name, the contact information for the store in case there's some problems. So then you cohesively with your availability list, you've got product. There's the name of your product. There's your unit. I always recommend that when you're doing an invoice, you have this ordered number, okay? Because your invoice is a historical document. It tells you a lot about the history of your farm. And in this particular case, the amount ordered and the amount sold, these two pieces of information are important for you. You'll notice that the Easter egg radish entry, your customer ordered 10, but they only received 6. And then if you look down to walnuts, they ordered 10, but they only got 4. And in the page mandarins, they ordered 25 and only got 20. The very first thing I will tell you is that the moment you know that you cannot fulfill your customer's order completely, you call them on the phone and let them know that. They're counting on you for that product. So you want to call them and let them know. You also want to indicate to them in the amount ordered column, you are acknowledging that they ordered 10, but they were only able to give them 6. And then here's your price. Your total, this column is also called the extension, which is basically the amount sold times the price tag of it, $160. You go down to the bottom, you end up with your grand total. So insofar as looking at this invoice, can any of you see any information that may be missing on this invoice? Anybody see it? Okay, well, I will, in the interest of time, I'll tell you what it is. Your California registration number is not on this invoice, nor is the name of your certifier. So this invoice is actually out of compliance. You want to make sure that you put those 2 pieces of information on your invoice in addition to all of your other basic administrative information. Okay, I'm hoping that all makes sense. Okay, we're going to. Are there any questions on the unavailability list or an invoice? I will tell you that when you go and make a delivery to a retail store or to a restaurant or to a wholesaler, anywhere that you actually make the delivery, you bring 2 invoices with you. Okay, one for you, one for them. You absolutely must make sure that invoice is signed and dated, and if you can, and you get the time on there. Those 3 things, your signature, the date, and the time, indicate the agreement that this is what you sold, this is the price that you sold, it was received in good condition, so that when the time comes for that invoice to be paid, there's no problems. Believe me, an unsigned invoice can be an unpaid invoice. Just remember that. Make sure that you get those signatures on both ends. Because if they don't have a signed copy, there's always going to be questions about what was received, what the price was, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
I want to add one point here. This is Tina, also about paperwork and accounting. With regards to your organic certification, it's really important to keep a copy of all of your sales records. So your invoice can help you with that and your tracking of records. When you have your organic inspection, this will help your inspection go much more efficiently if you have all of those records accounted for, which includes what your inventory was and what you sold. Using invoices, using the load list from a farmer's market can all help and serve as tools for your helping with your organic certification as well.
Okay. One other quick piece of information, kind of coinciding with making sure that you hold on to all of your invoices. When you sell, if you're a certified organic farmer, no matter what your certifier is, your customer will want a copy of your cert. So just be aware of that. When you start doing business with them, they will ask you for a copy of your certification. Okay, so now we're going to go into wholesale operations, and when you do wholesale, the things that you want to pay attention to are kind of simplistic, but very important. We want to talk about what the difference is between a wholesaler and a broker. A wholesale produce distributor takes custody of your product once it's purchased. They take it from their warehouse, they sell it from their warehouse, and they take responsibility for its care once it's received. A broker, on the other hand, generally does not take custody of the produce. They set up shipping from farm to their customer using trucks, planes, and at times boats to transport the goods. They often do not see the product at all. So the major difference between a wholesaler and a broker is a wholesale distribution company takes custody and a broker does not. They are basically act as a shipper. Okay, wholesale sales, you have volume considerations. Do you have enough to sell to a wholesaler? They are very often not interested in buying 3, 4, or 5 of something. It's very hard to put into their system. Their communication technology, what's that look like? Do they want you to talk with them on the phone, through fax, or through email? Post-harvest handling. Wholesale sales will, because of there's a time lag between the time that your wholesaler gets it and the time that a retail store or the eater may get it, post-harvest handling is very, very important. They may demand and require hydro cooling and or forced air cooling. And then the quality expectations, as we talked about in retail, very similar. When you have the conversation with them, you need to ask them what their quality expectations are. Transportation, do you have to have a refrigerated truck in order to deal with the wholesaler because maybe they're 2 or 3 hours away from you? And they want to make sure that something called the cold chain, which basically means keeping your product at the same temperature as it lives in the cooler, is maintained, so that your cold chain is intact. Wholesale sales delivery schedule. Often the requirement is very early in the morning, and I'm not talking 5 or 6 in the morning. I'm talking 2 or 3 in the morning. So are you able to fulfill that delivery schedule? Invoicing. You absolutely have to do your invoicing. Receiving. Receiving is the procedure in which you take your product to your wholesale distribution company, and also retail stores and restaurants. Somebody is there to literally receive the product. They do a physical count to make sure that you said there's 10 boxes, that there's actually 10 boxes, and what's in the box is actually what the label says. Believe me, oftentimes things are mislabeled, misboxed, bad counts. So a receiver will take care of all that. Credits. Okay, so credits are another reason why having a paid invoice, having a signed invoice is so important. Your customer tells you 2 days later that they only received 6 out of the 10 boxes of kale that you sold them. You can go back and say, hey, I have a signed invoice here that says you received 10 boxes. So that invoice is a way to help negotiate your credits. Credits are also tend to be behind quality, which really does reflect the idea of knowing what your post-harvest is. You want to make sure that your product looks as good 2 or 3 days later as it does the day you bring it to your customer to help alleviate credits. Your terms of payment, we've talked about that. And you're never going to not hear me talk about accounting. Wholesale sales often are 21 to 30-day terms. You want to make sure that when those 21 or 30 days are up that you can start looking for that check in the mail. If you don't get it, you can get on the phone. Brokerage. For brokerage, very similar to wholesale, know your communication technology, know their post-harvest capacity. Brokers are even more stringent on their post-harvest needs because that product can travel across the country or across the globe effectively. Pay attention to the distance your product travels. That's why post-harvest is so essential. Loading capacity. When you're dealing with a broker and they send a truck to your farm, they're going to want to make sure that that product is palletized, that you either have a forklift or a pallet jack for ease of loading. And do you have the volume for repeat sales? Brokers, like wholesalers, require large volumes of product. Do you have that product? Hey, there's that accounting word again, and your terms. Okay, so we're going to zip through and go to ways to grow a relationship, and this is with every indirect marketing venue that there is. You want to, when you contact a buyer, make sure you listen to their needs. They will tell you everything you need to know. You just need to listen. Be reliable. Do not overpromise. Things happen. You look out into the field. You think there's 50 boxes. It's only going to be 20. As soon as you know that, get on the phone. And one thing that this does teach you is how to look at your field and know what you're looking at insofar as boxes are concerned, how many boxes you're looking at. Be creative. Invite your customer to the farm, if at all humanly possible, or go and do in-store visits. You can go to wholesalers, do a little visit, bring a sample, talk up your farm, get the salespeople invested in your product. It's the salespeople who ultimately you want to make really happy with you. They're the ones who are talking to the customers. They're the ones doing the selling. Be adaptable. If your customer already has a line for romaine, think about growing red leaf for them, or green leaf or butter lettuces for them. And think of yourself as a partner. Oftentimes beginning farmers and small-scale farmers don't understand their importance in the profile of their customer. Remember that you are an important part of the profile of your customer, of the profile of that retail store. You're a partner. You're as important to your customer as your customer is to you. Okay, now we've got about 10 minutes to broach any more questions that may have come up. I realize I talked relatively quickly. I did so we could have a few moments for discussion. Are there any questions that I can answer, or Jeff can answer, or perhaps Tina can answer?
Okay, again, this is your time for any questions you might have, so go ahead and type them in or raise your hand. I see Sherry has had her hand here raised for a while, so I don't know if you still have a question for us. I'm going to unmute you. Sherry, are you there?
Oh, hi. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Do you have a question?
I had several questions. I typed them in, but maybe I did it incorrectly.
No, I think we received most of them, so I don't know if there's anything left we haven't answered.
Actually, I don't think I saw the answers. I was wondering if we could get copies of some of those slides that she was showing.
Yeah, as I went over at the beginning of the training today, this recording is this session is being recorded, so everyone will receive a copy of the recording. We'll also be sending out a list of some of the resources that we've been discussing today.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions about the content in terms of what we've covered?
What are the biggest pitfalls of selling to a small retail store or a restaurant? We currently do a couple of farmers markets, and that's going really well. But this season we would like to, we have our eye on a couple of places, but we haven't really made any contact yet. And I'm just wondering, are there any pitfalls to dealing with retail stores and restaurants? And is it better to start with a restaurant? Is it better to start with a retail store?
Okay, I'm going to pass that one to Dina. Just one second.
Hey, Sherry, this is Dina.
Hi.
Hi. To start in one venue or another, better or not better, the way to make that determination is literally to go and have the conversation with the produce buyer or the chef, and you've targeted a store, you make the phone call, you ask for a meeting. You go and you sit down and have a conversation with them, and they will tell you what their needs are. You have a sense of what your capacity is, and if what their needs are and your capacity are hand in glove, and if you know, the person that you're talking to, you can relate to them, you feel that they can relate to you, because you are beginning a relationship with that person and that store. If it feels right to you and their terms are proper and you have the capacity to give them what their needs are, then do it. Conversely, with a restaurant, same. It's kind of the same. You have a conversation with the chef, find out what their needs are, how often their menu changes, or if they have real consistent need for a certain product. If they can pay you the money that you're wanting, if you can serve their time for delivery and their communication technology, then that would absolutely be the right place for you. What I am hearing is your size. You may have concerns about your size. The nice part about retail stores and restaurants is they can take smaller volumes of things. Which, you know, a wholesaler or broker really doesn't have the capacity to do that. Having that face-to-face conversation with your buyer really is the determining factor of whether that is the right place to start. I do know that in those venues, just because you have a little bit of something doesn't make it not valuable. In fact, particularly for restaurants, it makes it even the more valuable because they're not going to buy 10 boxes of something necessarily. I hope that helped you, and if you'd like to have a more in-depth conversation, you are welcome to call me. My contact information will pop up on the screen as we come to a close. Be really happy to speak to any of you on a one-to-one basis.
Excellent. And one last question. When you were talking about the pricing that we would expect to receive if we were selling produce to a small retail store, you mentioned, you know, target the store, review their prices, and then 30 to 35% off the retail is what we would expect to charge the store. Would that, how would that equate to a restaurant price?
With basically with restaurants, the discussion is effectively with the chef. There's really, you can't like look at the menu and make a determination of what the restaurant is capable or willing to pay. That really does come straight up with the conversation. I always tell people to start off stating what your prices are, what you need to get for your product. And then the negotiation starts from there. Because if you go to a store or a restaurant and you ask them, what will you give me? The answer is going to be as little as humanly possible, and not have you walk out the door. So you go armed knowing with what you need, and then after that, it really comes up to your comfort level and the comfort level of the farm's profitability.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to open the line here for Perry Creek Walnuts. Question for us? Hello? B from Perry Creek Walnuts, are you still there? Do you have it, Betty Allen? Okay. I'm not hearing you on the phone, so we're going to go ahead and read out your question. Just 1 second. Let me pass this back to Dina.
Okay, Betty's question reads, I have a small walnut farm. I mail some to the East Coast. Other than U.S. mail, is there a more cost-effective way to ship them? I actually think that Jeff would be a better person for this because Frog Hollow Farm does such a large amount of shipping. Jeff, do you have a recommendation for Betty? What's better than the U.S. mail?
I sure do. I mean, I know the U.S. Postal Service needs our business right now, but it's definitely, when you're shipping across country, you should compare your options. And the other options, obviously, are UPS and FedEx. Now, if you're just doing a one-off shipment here and there, I believe the U.S. Postal Service may be your best route, especially if you don't have to go air or two-day air. But if you're actually looking at setting up regular shipments, this is the cool thing. UPS and FedEx, they want your business badly. And they have what's called published rates, and negotiate rates. What you see online is published rates. They're going to be very high and very expensive. But if you're looking at setting up an e-commerce or a drop ship business where you're shipping on a regular basis, you're doing volume, they're going to compete with each other for your business. So they're going to provide you negotiated rates. And your first round of this may not be the best pricing, but it should be better than the U.S. Postal Service. But as you actually build volume and you have a track record of doing more shipments, you're going to be able to really play FedEx and UPS against each other. Don't tell them I told you that. But they want your business, and they're used to competing with each other. My personal preference, based on my experiences at Frog Hollow as well as at Marin Sun Farms, is UPS. They really have their business down, especially if you're doing both ground shipments and air shipments. FedEx, they operate as two different companies. They're express and they're ground. So if you're doing both ground and express, it's a little difficult. But if you're just doing ground or just express, FedEx is definitely a good option as well, and I know a lot of farms that use FedEx.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff. Our next question is from Susan Mai. Susan is asking about the benefits to using a broker. So I'll pass that one first to Dina.
The benefits of using a broker is oftentimes they will set up the trucking capacity. They will send a truck to your farm, so you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to pay freight or any of that. A truck will sort of appear at your farm. And then the other benefit really is if you have large volumes, a broker is particularly helpful because that is what they specialize in, pallet sales. They like tonnage. The more freight that they can put on the truck, the better it is for them. And then often the other benefit to a broker is the ability to to reach out to people, customers, clients across the country or across the globe. So they have the kind of outreach that you wouldn't have necessarily, and that most of the time, oftentimes wholesalers don't do cross-globe shipping or cross-country shipping. Oftentimes, wholesale distribution is fairly local. So a broker can get your product to the East Coast, to the South, to the Northeast, Northwest, et cetera, based on your location. So they tend to be more national.
Okay. How do you go about finding a broker? This is a question from Amanda.
Well, one of the first things that I recommend is talk to other farmers who are working with brokers to find out who they work with, or and if that's a good relationship. CCOF has a directory that has some brokers listed, which are highly reputable brokers. I use CCOF's directory often as a resource. I find that to be particularly helpful. So those are two of the resources that I trust the most. The best really is to talk with other farmers and find out who they're using, who pays on time, who uses good trucks, etc. That really is the best way. Word of mouth will never lead you astray.
Great. Well, we want to thank everyone for your excellent questions. And to wrap up today, we want to make sure that we remind you to go back and look at that self-assessment now that you've gone through the full training today. Maybe you'll have a deeper perspective on the usefulness of this tool to really help you evaluate which of these market channels is really right for your operation, both for you personally and for the core competencies that you offer from your farm or ranch or other production. So with that, I want to offer a few more pieces. There's a lot of information out there about marketing. These are a few good ones, which we'll send you an email. There's also the ATRA Project, California Farm Link. There's a number of resources through Cornell. This is one we have listed here, Cornell Good Agricultural Practice Program. Food safety, as you know, is continuing to be a very important part of thinking about your market planning, and there are different rules that are coming out. The Food Safety Modernization Act was just released, the first 2 of 5 rules that will be coming out, looking at how food safety will be regulated in the U.S., which will have a big impact on retail markets, wholesale markets, and basically all of the markets. So it'll be important to keep an eye out for that and to stay abreast with what the changing requirements will be. The UC Small Farm Center also has a really excellent publication, and the Small Farm Handbook. These are also 2 really good resources that also have some components focused on marketing. So if you're interested in organic certification, we know there's a number of you who joined today who maybe aren't certified yet or considering it. CCOF does have a woman named Jane Wade who's on our staff here. Her job solely is to work with new applicants and to help you evaluate if organic certification is right for you, if it's needed for your market. And she can help you kind of walk through the application process and really understand what the certification process is about. So if you are considering that, you may want to give her a call or send her an email with any questions you might have. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. You will receive an evaluation survey that will be online in an email you'll get from us shortly. I want to ask everyone to please fill out the survey. It really helps us to continue to evolve and improve our trainings to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the organic community and those interested in organic markets. We do have a number of educational events coming up this spring. If you're interested in wholesale markets, I want to highly recommend our LA Wholesale Market Tour. We're going to be going to Los Angeles on April 19th. And this is a chance to really see behind the scenes of what the wholesale market is about and what, tax standards, everything you would need to know to really prepare for selling through wholesale. You'll also have an opportunity to meet with some of the main houses that source organic ingredients and organic products and talk with them directly. So if you haven't signed up for that yet, I recommend you do go to our website to register. We will also have an organic labeling webinar. If you work with ingredients or processed products, this is a webinar for you. This will go through everything you need to know to make an NOP, a National Organic Program, compliant label for an organic product, and that will be on May 9th at 9:30. So please check out CCOF's education page for full details of these events and other events that are coming up this year. And once again, I just want to thank you once again, Jeff Bordes from Marin Farms and Dina Izzo from Blue Dog Organic Produce Services. Please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us for further questions. We're here to help you be successful in the marketplace and bring more organic product to market. So thank you once again for joining us. And with that, I'm going to close. Goodbye, everyone.